We began today in Iraq, where the Iraqi army just entered Kirkuk to take control of the oil-rich city. Kirkuk has long been the focal point of Kurdish-Iraqi tensions. Thousands of Kurds in Kirkuk voted to break away from Iraq to form a Kurdish state a few weeks ago. Experts fear territorial disputes like this can lead to more instability and possibly even civil war between the Kurds and the Iraqi government, both of whom are U.S.-supported allies. Joining me now to continue this discussion is former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michael.
Pleasure.
Now, can you first tell us why this is a big deal?
It's a big deal because it could bring total instability into Iraq in a country that's already teetering on instability, and you have warring factions within the country which could take advantage of that and actually move into areas such as the resurgence of ISIS, for example, and it could create new pockets of resistance, and it will be nothing but headaches for the Baghdad government as a consequence, and it will mean that the United States, which is trying to stabilize that country, is going to have more problems on its hands ultimately.
Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi, he said in a statement that this operation in Kirkuk was necessary. What do you say to that? Yes, in terms from the Baghdad government point of view, it was unconstitutional in terms of declaring independence. It's absolutely against their constitution, number one. But number two, it tears up the country. It's tantamount to partitioning of the country. And that's the one thing the central government does not want to happen. And once again, it will bring in other foreign interests into that area, such as the Israelis, the Turks, and who are already biding their time in order to cast their own influence in those regions. How are the Kurds reacting to this?
The Kurds are not taking it very well. There has been gunfights, of course. I'm hearing latest reports of over hundreds on either side having been killed. This is just to secure Kirkuk and the oil fields. The oil fields was really, really important to the Baghdad government. The Kurdish government up in Erbil was siphoning off the oil and selling it directly outside, particularly to the Turks and to the Israelis, and the Baghdad government wasn't making any money. So consequently, that was one of the things they wanted to re-secure, and they apparently have. The question then is, in order to ensure that the country remains whole and doesn't partition, are they going to be moving up north into Erbil and those areas in order to have an Iraqi army presence? That's going to create even greater difficulties if they do.
What do you think will happen as a result of the instability in northern Iraq?
It's going to create even greater tensions, particularly within the country and outside the country, with all the other outside countries that have interests in Iraq. Iran's going to be very interested in what happens. Iran has a major influence. The Russians have an influence. The United States has an interest in it. Saudi Arabia has an interest in it because of the Sunnis. And Israel does too. Israel is the only country that really supported the referendum for independence from the Kurds.
Why is that?
They want to have their own deal. They actually receive Kurdish oil, and because of their alliance now with the Saudis, I think that this might be something that's playing into that alliance, in which the Saudis themselves like to have instability in a country that's run by the Shia as opposed to the Sunnis, and so they're looking out for Sunni dominance to resurrect that once again inside of Iraq.
I want to shift the focus now to the U.S. The U.S. has trained and armed Iraqi units and is allies with Kurdish groups. So what concerns the U.S. the most as it pertains to conflict between the two groups?
It's the instability itself. The United States was looking for a position in Iraq to maybe use the Kurdish area to set up a base. But if there's conflict in the region, it brings on greater instability. And this, combined with existing instability within the Iraqi government itself, even among the Shia. So this is you're having instability throughout the entire country, and it only brings in on tremendous tensions, and also it gives the let's say the Sunnis and maybe even more jihadi Salafist groups an opportunity to take advantage of that instability and to move back in, which would be horrendous.
If anything, do you think the U.S. will intervene?
The U.S. is
intervening in the sense of mediating. That's their role right now. They're trying to get all sides to talk. They're not entering into any conflict. We have special forces up there. We have them with the Kurds, and they're also with the Iraqi army. They are staying out of the fight, and as they should. But I think their role really is to try and mediate a very difficult situation right now.
Going back to the Baghdad government, what does all of this tell you about the government?
It tells me it's really unstable, that it's trying to maintain its formation, trying to hold the country together. The fact that a body, the prime minister, took decisive action such as this really puts a dampener on any future intentions of whether it's the Kurds or any other element of Sunnis, for example, and other tribes to try and carve out Iraq and have their own independence and have a partition. I think that was the message that was going in there, that other groups would see this, and if the Kurds got away with it, then you're going to see other groups trying to piggyback onto that approach.
All right, thank you so much, Michael.
Pleasure.
That was former Pentagon official Michael Maloof.
Pleasure.